When we look in Chicago, we think of the great history here and how industrial revolution had changed the city for many, many years. At the same time, we didn't realize at that time how the industrial revolution affected the environment, affected the water, affected the land, affected the air quality, and also the workers. Unfortunately, we didn't realize at that time. So how do you basically bring a new strategy into a large urban area like ours, with a lot of history in manufacturing and heavy industry, to attract jobs and to retain people, remain very competitive in the global economy, and every day we are in a global economy. We don't compete against Detroit or New York or Miami or Los Angeles or Houston. We're basically competing against countries and cities throughout the world. At the same time, you respect the past, and which we can talk about the past, but we live in the present, but you always look into the future. And those that don't see the future will not survive in this global economy. And so, like anything else, you talk about the environment. And we talked about the environment many years ago. We talked about economic sense, not only about the quality what we want, but also makes economic sense to do things when you have the cooperation of the local, the county, the state, and the federal government, non-for-profits, and the for-profit companies. That's the only way that we can move through the environment. It can't be us against them or them against us. And that's why the strategy has to make economic sense. At the same time, it is directly linked to the future of our city and our country as we talk about the great changes. And we can see what has taken place in the oil spill, how that has affected all of us in personal ways, in ways that we see it continually, without the response that is necessary to protect the natural resources as well as protect the livelihood of people throughout the South that has to deal with this huge oil spill in the Gulf. In this difficult economy, how do you lay a foundation, and how do you talk about jobs? And people want jobs right away because they're truly struggling. So when we talk about green businesses and industry, because we talk about clean energy, green technology would be a major part of a new economy. So you have to really mix everything. You have to, every time you build a school, every time you build a public institution, you have to think of the environment, and at the same time, you have to think of the quality of life that new development is going to give into the community and the long-lasting effect it has inside a building and, of course, outside the building. So our challenge is now to seize the future and the opportunities it offers. So I'm here to thank Exelon for this new wonderful solar power plant. Early in my administration, we made a commitment to enhance the environment and make Chicago the most environmentally friendly city, not in the nation. They always put in the nation. I call it about the world, and that to me is the commitment. And so when I became mayor, climate change wasn't on the radar. No one ever heard of the word anyway. So, and so even most people. So in 2008. We unveiled the Chicago Climate Action Plan. And what that was basically a study of all the businesses coming together, all the governments coming together, all the not-for-profits and the academic community to really work out a strategy, and a realistic strategy with goals, and not just to put something on the shelf and say, well, we just issued it and someday we're going to get there. And so what we did is we talked about all the changes that can take place in a city by the cooperation that you need. And other cities have set similar goals, but Chicago was the first to identify the emission sources and the anticipated impacts of climate change and the proposed ideas that specifically responded to the research brought up by the academic community and the non-for-profits. And one of the major goals set out by the Climate Action Plan is to move to cleaner power sources and procure enough renewable energy generation, reduced by 20% the carbon emissions caused by generating electricity by 2020. This is the largest urban solar installation in the country. It is helping us reach that goal and make an impact on the city in several ways. First of all, the 32,000 solar panels produce enough electricity to power 1,500 homes, and that's with zero carbon emissions. Next, it restores productive use a brownfield site that has been vacant for more than 30 years, which has significant environmental challenges that made it unattractive to other developers over the years. Of course, the project benefited our economy in the West Pullman community, returns the property to tax rolls. It created more than 200 construction jobs. It was built using steel tubing and other construction materials sourced from companies right here on the south side of the city of Chicago. It will serve as a landmark and a source of pride for the West Pullman community. I want to again thank Exelon, SunPower for their vision and their commitment. The project is a great example of the good things that when government, private sector, and non-for-profit sector comes together, things can change. And you need the private sector. You need the businesses. If you don't have business in the community, then you don't have employment. Then you cannot generate revenue in a local state, in a county, in the federal system for tax revenues. The city leased the site to Exelon. The company also committed millions of dollars of its own money to building the plant. We will continue to work with the private sector, the federal and state governments, and use every available tool to achieve the goals of the Chicago Climate Action Plan. For example, over the last 2 years, Chicago has become the hub for wind energy companies. The major corporations are located here in the city. 14 wind energy companies have established headquarters here in Chicago because of the manufacturing, transportation capabilities, and our proximity to areas with great potential for wind energy. But the benefits of the Climate Action Plan go beyond the important goal of improving the environment. The actions will have the greatest impact, such as on this project, will create jobs, save companies and residents money, enhance their quality of life, position the city and its residents for future economic growth and prosperity. Since I've been mayor, the goal was to make Chicago an example of how a large city can live in harmony with the environment, a result of a better place for all its residents. It will address the climate change challenge together, as we've done with Exelon, which I just want to, again, thank John Rowe and the board of directors and all the people that work at Exelon for their great commitment of working with the community, dealing with the environment and the economic future of not only our area, but throughout the country. Thank you very much.